Tunisian authorities have authorized an investigation of a group called the Mahdi Organization and its alleged involvement in yesterday's knife attack in Nice in the southeast of France. In social media posts, the group claimed responsibility for the attack in which a woman was beheaded and 2 other people killed. The suspect in the attack is Brahim Aoussioui, a 21-year-old Tunisian who had recently emigrated to Europe. Today, mourners and religious representatives of various faiths led wreaths in front of the Notre Dame Church in Nice, where the attack happened. The attack came just under 2 weeks after a middle school teacher in Paris, a suburb, was beheaded by an 18-year-old attacker who was apparently incensed by the teacher showing a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad in class.
More details on the knife attack in France were revealed late Thursday by the country's chief anti-terrorist prosecutor. The man suspected of killing 3 people at a church in Nice earlier in the day was born in 1999 and from Tunisia. Prosecutor Jean-François Ricard says the man arrived by train from Italy. He changed his clothes at the station, which was caught on camera, then walked a quarter mile to the church where he carried out his attack shortly before 8:30 in the morning. Ricard says authorities arrived about half an hour later.
A team of 4 local police officers intervened. Witness statements of first responders indicate that the man moved towards them in a threatening manner, shouting Allahu Akbar, obliging them to use a taser before shooting several times with their guns.
2 of the 3 victims died on the spot, while the third managed to make it out of the church into a nearby cafe, where she eventually died.
The assailant was transported to a hospital to be operated on. He's very seriously wounded. He's still in a life-threatening condition.
Nice's mayor said the attack was similar to the beheading of teacher Samuel Paty by a Chechen man earlier this month near Paris. Paty used cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad in a civics class about freedom of expression. Thursday's attacks on the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad came at a time of growing Muslim anger around the globe at France's defense of the right to publish the cartoons.
Well, for a little bit more on this issue, we're now joined by Hamid Chriet, who is a North Africa and France researcher, and he joins us now via Skype. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program. How is France feeling? Are there people taking sides, or is there a general feeling that this is a tragedy that shouldn't have happened?
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me. This tragedy is very worrying today. The people have a very bad feeling about this situation, this horrific situation and barbaric situation in France. I think now we are confronting with a very difficult life for French people, how to find this barbaric terrorism, Islamist terrorism. And it's very important to gather all French people with all difference, whatever they are, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, or not believer. This is very important to unify the whole Muslim community, the whole national Muslim community, and to appeal for a peaceful dialogue between French people and not to intensify hatred speech, which we had seen recently in the many mainstream media. That is the most important message.
Yeah, it can easily become a Islamophobic event where people paint all Muslims with the same brush based on the acts of one person. How have the Muslim community reacted to, firstly, what happened to Paty, and then to these 3 people who were killed inside a Catholic church? How have they responded to what has happened?
Yeah, it's a very good question. You know, we live in very good paradox in France. Some people say that the Muslim community have to react about these tragic events, and others said no, because they are French. They are not responsible for someone who is crazy, who is not Muslim, obviously, who doesn't understand even the religion of the Islam. because as you know, Islam, etymologically, it means that is a peace, religion of peace. I think it's important that the French Muslim community react, of course, to first of all condemn the all religious authority. They have to take also their own responsibility when they preach every Friday on the mosque in France. That's the first thing. The second thing is the French Muslim intellectual has also to condemn these horrific attacks and to work to cooperate with the French authority. We've seen today, unfortunately, that the French president does not open for the French and Muslim community to cooperate with them. And unfortunately, this situation will make a more, a worrying situation. And this is, I think, it has to be, French president has to open a dialogue with the French Muslim and to cooperate with them. I think the bad approach in decades was every time the suspicion against the French Muslim. And of course, the is increasing with this event.
Is the language that the French president using inflaming things when he talks about taking a stance against radical Islam instead of perhaps saying taking a stance against terrorism?
Yeah, that's why when he delivered his speech and when he said Islam is in crisis, I think it was a very huge mistake. And I said it to him because I wrote many strategic notes to him since when he has been elected in 2017. I advised him for many things, such as in North African and French policies. But the feeling of the Muslim community in France is very worrying today. Because, as I said, the French authorities does not cooperate with the Muslim, and particularly with the young Muslim, French Muslim. And this is very important to integrate the French Muslim community in the all sectors, such as in the media, such as in the politics, in the some organization. And that is very important when you deliver a message. And unfortunately, we've seen that recently that the French president had an agenda, a political agenda, obviously for the next election in 2022, and I hope that this appeal will change his mind.
Talk to me a little bit about the tensions that have arisen over time. So France, we've got symbols of a certain way of life. You've got the Notre Dame, the Sacré-Cœur, and it's a predominantly Catholic country, but you've seen over time migrants come into the country, and one gets a sense that when I hear the language of the French president, he's saying you can come to France, but you must become French in every way. You can't carry on with your cultures in the way that you practice them in other countries. Is that the sense that I'm getting? Is that correct?
Yes, some people say that, the political class, but I think we have to respect the difference. I am French, but I have a North African, I have an African origin, and I have no problem with my two origins. So I think the first thing is you have to respect the law, the French law, and you have to be integrated. Of course, how to be integrated is to learn the language. That's the first thing, and to learn the culture. But if you had already born in the country, you don't need to be integrated. What we've seen recently is some political French, targeting Muslim people and immigrants and confusing people. So that's why it's very dangerous things that the French political class are doing. And what we need today is to gather all differences in the French society and also to open a dialogue civilization with the OIC. That's why I had proposed the French president 2 years ago to be membership of the OIC, the biggest Muslim organization in the world, where there are 57 countries, and to ask for a seat on this organization. France, as you know, hosts more than 7 million French Muslims, and they have the legitimacy to ask this seat, into the OIC. And that is, I think, can be a first dialogue and a first idea to open this dialogue, the dialogue of civilization, and also to resolve the migrant problem, because the migrant problem also has consequences in Africa and other countries. When some leaders are corrupted, when there is no democracy, when the state of right are not respected, these all matters are very important to bring together them and also to link them. Migration has also consequences because of the failure of some states and the corruptions with many countries. And I think we can also open a new summit with the African Union, others countries with the European Union, to open a new summit and to sit and to find a new solution for this immigration, and also to have maybe some quotation immigration on Europe.
All right, let's talk a little bit about, again, interpretation of what freedom of expression is, and Charlie Hebdo, the cartoons. Again, we saw this killing of Paty because he was talking about this issue with his students, showing these cartoons. Talk to me a little bit about where people fall in terms of these cartoons, freedom of expression, the right to publish whatever you want to publish, and then others perhaps feeling they're being insulted. I don't know. Tell us what the situation in France is by and large.
Well, the French society is split. Some people said that Charlie Hebdo have abused of the freedom. They criticize this caricature, and by showing some, bad pictures and bad image for the Muslim people. So it depends on your point of view, and what is for you is important about your belief and your feeling. And I think the speech of freedom in countries, in France, of course, there's freedom of speech, but they have as well to respect the feeling of others and their faith. So it's very something which is very sensitive in the French society, but not only in the world. So I think, of course, I am for the freedom of speech, but with responsibility. As they said, the French saying, the respect again starts with you and to others, to someone. So that's why I think that everybody has to express his freedom of speech, but has also to be responsible for what he's saying.
All right, but I guess, where you draw the line becomes the issue, isn't it? Because for some people, they'll say, hang on, I should be able to say anything I want about any religion. And then some of the people in those religions are saying, you can, as long as you don't speak about my religion. How do you find a middle ground through all of this? Because this kind of thing and these kinds of incidents will continue to rear their head, and usually they will find some radical people that will take it further. And we're seeing what's happening, demonstrations in Pakistan and other parts of the Middle East about what's happening in France.
Yeah, first, as you said, it's a very good question. The consequences for the speech of Macron when he showed these caricatures was the boycott of the French product for the economy and France. I think is not very the good solution to open a dialogue with a Muslim country. I think the best solution, the best initiative, diplomatic initiative today is to open a dialogue with the OIC and the Muslim country to gather it and to speak with them, to speak about the speech of freedom, and to open a new line of approach with this Muslim country and this organization. We have a very good platform, of course, with the European Union and the OIC. The OIC represents itself 15 countries, and that is very important to gather these two organizations, and of course to plan and to draw a plan of diplomatic action, how to solve this problem between these two cultures and this civilization. I don't believe by this polarization between two civilizations. As you know, and there is a many European Muslim that they have a double cultures. They are, they can have an African culture, they can have an Asian culture, they can have an American culture, they can have a French culture, and they can be Muslim and Christian and others religion. But I think this matter is very sensitive when it touch about your faith. It's very sensitive. That's why I said the best initiative, diplomatic initiative, is to sit with the OIC. That's why I had proposed to the French president to ask for a seat, and the France has the most Muslim population, French population, Muslim French population in Europe. Yeah. So I think it can be a very good idea to open this initiative, diplomatic initiative, peacefully with the open dialogue, and I think this will have very good consequences, and it will be a second step instead of insulting someone or boycotting others' country. But the French president has to listen and has to open this dialogue. What we've seen today, unfortunately, there is something which is blind, dark with the president.
Okay.
And unfortunately, a huge hole, in the Palace of Élysée. So I hope the French president will listen this clear message and this obvious for the interests beforehand, for the interests for France, but also for the Muslim countries.